Well, forget for a moment those Wall Street paychecks with a big fat target on them to hear some economists tell it. If ever there were a group of spent guys, it's the commercial real estate guys. The folks who own the buildings are on the verge of seeing the same hell as the folks who own the homes. Real estate attorney Stephen Meister calls this the next financial tsunami. And you and I were briefly chatting. It's going to be substantial.
It's going to be very substantial, Neil. Practically every commercial real property in the country, in every major city, office buildings, apartment buildings, shopping centers, hospitality, was refinanced 05 to 08 on relatively short terms. Those loans are not coming due. It seems like there's going to be on the order of $1.3 trillion coming due in the next 8 years.
And how much of that is in danger?
I think all of it is in danger because none of it is refinanceable. There's no refinancing market whatsoever. And even if that refinancing market heals at some point in the next 8 years, as I hope and believe it will, the values at which these properties were refinanced 05 to 08 are far in excess of what they could be refinanced for now if the refinancing market were to heal itself.
Okay, we're going to take a look at who's the most vulnerable here, but the exposure would be ample in big cities, obviously, right?
It would be in big cities, all the major cities.
Okay, so how would average Joes and Joannes feel this?
Well, it's interesting. Most of these properties are financed with complex debt stacks. You've heard of the financial slicing and dicing. So what happens is we have junior loans, or what we call mezzanine loans, behind the first mortgages, sometimes as much as, or as many as 10 mezzanine loans on a single property or portfolio.
Really?
Yes. Many of those mezzanine loans are funded by real estate private equity firms, and although the news loves to demonize and vilify the CEOs of some of those real estate private equity firms, in fact, their money almost comes entirely from pension funds, state pension funds such as CalPERS and New York Common Fund. And so when the TARP subsidized banks, our major banks, wipe out these junior lenders, they're wiping out pensioners' life savings.
Okay, so if you're invested in any of these, you're screwed. But let's say a shopping center or a mall, falls apart. The financing falls apart, or the people who are financing and owning it falls apart. What happens to that mall?
Well, you see, the problem is that oftentimes the junior lenders and the equity will be willing to invest some significant additional capital to salvage their investments. The problem is that the first mortgage, which is of course in the catbird seat when the maturity hits, if they're not willing to write their first mortgage down to the current value of the property, it makes no economic sense for the junior lenders or the equity to put in the money. So if you have a property with a $500 million previous value and a $400 million loan, first mortgage loan, that now has a $200 million value, the junior mezzanine lenders and the equity are never going to invest. And what's happening is these TARP banks, these TARP subsidized banks, are not writing down those first mortgages.
Well, how many of the big banks that have been rescued are part and subject to this mess?
I think all of them. The Bank of America, Citibank, Bank of America took over Merrill Lynch, which was...
So they just got out of pot of boiling water, and now they're in a frying pan.
That's right. They're not booking those losses. They're extending and pretending. They're taking it in on foreclosure and keeping the loan on the books.
So we're playing a different head game than we were before, but we're still playing a game.
Right. And
so when does this all start hitting?
It's hitting right now.
What happens? Play it out. The 1.some-odd trillion.
I think what's going to happen is where the borrowers are flush with cash in rare instances, and they can come up with the demands, meet the demands of the first lenders, you will get this extend and pretend strategy. The loans are not being written down. Where the borrowers don't have that cash, then what's going to happen is the senior lenders are going to foreclose either in a court fight or consensually. The junior mezzanine lenders are going to be wiped out. Equity is going to be wiped out.
Someone's going to have to be bailed out, you're saying?
No, well, yes, I think that what we really need to do is clamp down on the TARP-funded banks so that they...
It's too late for that.
Well, not really, because this wave is just starting.
But there is a flip side, lemonade out of the lemons, right? If you're looking for office space,
Yes.
You want to expand his business, and your own costs are crimped. You can get property for a song.
You can get great deals now, but we do need, just as in the residential market where you had foreclosures and you had sales and you had a clearing out process, and that's how the healthy, that's the beginning of the health and recovery of the market.
Right.
That process is being delayed and frustrated
Gotcha.
by the refusal to write down the loans, which...
So they're playing the same stubborn resistance to reality.
They're paying the same. They're playing that, and in addition, it is really being called for by the Payzar and the TARP funds.
So real quickly, we're going presumably out of this recession. Everyone says the recession's over. We're just seeing some sunlight. You're saying it's just the gap between the hurricane.
It is going to be a torpedo amidships. It is going to be a major blow that we're going to have to deal with.